too many teens that are binge drinking and blacking out and winded up in the hospital getting their stomach pumped, and it's not a pretty sight. I've been there a couple of times. It's no fun. I don't recommend it for anybody.
Yeah, I guess it's a problem because people feel pressure to drink when they're around more friends and stuff, and it's getting bigger and more popular.
I think it can be a problem among teens. I have friends that I think are gonna have problems as they get older with that.
And some people pick the certain kind of crowds, like in high school, the popular kind of crowds, and they go to parties and they get drunk and they get in trouble for no reason, and they just do it to be cool, to get noticed, and I think that's a bad idea. I think drinking is very bad.
I think it's wrong because it's polluting your body. Long-term effects, I mean, you could do it once or twice, even so, it's still damaging to you no matter how many times you did it. Or
you don't have to drink to have fun or whatever. You could just say no.
We are underage, but, you know, we're all young and we all like to explore certain things, certain aspects of life. So, you know, for graduation, you know, even if you're like underage, everybody's going to want to try something. So I think, you know, everybody should have a limit because we are underage, but everybody's going to try it, even if their parents don't agree.
The more people that are doing that, there's so many deaths related to alcohol that it needs to stop.
I'm straight edge, so I don't drink or do drugs or anything like that. But I know a few of my friends drink and get really passed out. But it's like, you know, people act stupid when they're drunk. You know, I don't want to do that.
You might think that binge drinking is a problem on college campuses, not at your high school.
But the statistics tell a different story. Children as young as 5th grade begin drinking.
In fact, 8% of 4th and 5th graders polled admitted to already having had a full beer.
In another survey of drug abuse, more than 10 million adolescents ages 12 to 20 reported using alcohol.
Of those, 5 million admitted to binge drinking.
What exactly is binge drinking, and why is it so popular among teens? That is what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm John.
And I'm Alicia.
And this is Real Faith TV. Experts describe binge drinking as consuming 5 or more drinks in a row for boys and 4 or more in a row for girls.
Our spotlight guest today is Jim. He will share with us about a time in his life when he went on a drinking binge.
His real name is not Jim. He wishes to remain anonymous for obvious reasons.
Before we meet him, let's meet our studio guests and ask them what they have experienced concerning binge drinking.
Okay, with us today we have Nicole, Ross, Beth, Bryce, Sarah, and Catherine.
Have you guys ever had any first or secondhand experience with binge drinking?
You know, after prom, I went to a party, and it wasn't like a problem. I mean, there was drinking there, but it didn't really get out of hand. I mean, according to your statistics, I guess, you know, if you have 5 beers or 4 beers, depending upon if you're a guy or a girl, I guess you could say that there was binge drinking, but it wasn't like anything out of control where everybody's like, yeah, you know, like, let's go do something crazy. I mean, nobody was like, in a crazy state of mind.
But that could have easily changed.
Yeah,
so,
it could have.
You gotta be careful.
In freshman year, at school, like, you know, like freshman girls are like really vulnerable and kind of stupid sometimes. You know, they're like naive.
Yeah.
So we, me and a bunch of my friends went to a senior party, and you know, there was a lot of alcohol there, and a lot of the people hadn't drank ever before in their lives, and you know, like, by the end of the night, you saw people like laying in dog beds, like throwing up on the lawn, like really, really crazy stuff, and like just really, really crazy parties.
I've seen many, I've seen many parties like that, you know, and it's okay if you go there. You just have to use your conscience to tell you, like, okay, I'm not going to drink. I don't have to binge drink. You know, it's okay if my friends I do it. I tell them not to, but I can't make decisions for them. But I can still make my own decision.
I mean, and you also gotta like not surround yourself with that kind of like an environment all the time, because you're very easily influenced if you're in, you know, I mean, like, not personally myself, but like it's easy to be, you know, pulled into that kind of, you know, an environment when you're,
especially when you're, like you said, like a freshman, or you know, you're just starting to hang out with a new group of friends. You want to be, you know, you want to be accepted, and you want to be popular, and sadly, that's like how you become popular in high school a lot of the times, is drinking. And going to parties like that, and you have to be, you know, strong enough to say no. It's not worth it.
And I know a lot of people, you know, who go to a party and in their mind, like, you know, I might drink, I'll maybe, you know, I'll have, you know, 1 beer or whatever, and they don't think anything of it. But like, you know, they have one beer, and I'll have 2 beers because I don't feel, you know, I don't feel drunk, I don't feel buzzed. So I have 2 beers. Well, I don't feel, you know, buzzed now. I'll have 3 beers, and I'll have 4 beers, and I'll have 5, and all of a sudden they're up to 10, and that's how things get out of hand, you know.
I know I don't have any personal experience with binge drinking, but I hear stories of kids in my high school that like go on binge drinks, and like I just hear of crazy things that they do, and it's really weird. It's like, why would they do that? But then again, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know a lot of people feel pressure to do it, and they just make complete fools out of themselves. Like a great kid, great academic-wise, and he was the captain of our football team, got drunk and completely was kicked off the team. And it's like times like those when you wonder, is it really worth it? Is it worth like showing that you're a man by drinking 5 beers or however many? And in the end, you just look like a fool.
I know a kid who, he's amazingly smart, just like Bryce was talking about. He got into Harvard, and he went up there for orientation, freshman orientation or whatever, and he drank while he was there and got really drunk, and then he got caught, and he almost got kicked out before he was even really in.
Wow.
So you have to be careful, don't do stupid things.
You have to remember too, like, we're not 21 yet. And as much as you might disagree with it, it's still illegal in our country to drink. And all right, maybe if you're with your parents, they want to give you a glass of wine or a beer, that's okay every once in a while, I guess. But I'm saying, you know, it's illegal, and we can wait how many years, 4, 5, 3 years, however, until you turn 21, and then you can drink responsibly. So just wait, you know, it's not worth it.
I think the big problem is that people feel as if they need to be drunk to have fun at a party, because that's kind of what our culture and the people in our school tell us. And people go to parties wanting to be drunk, but I don't really understand how you can go to a party, get so drunk, and then, you know, come back the next day and be like, I heard I did this thing and that thing and this stupid thing, and it was so much fun, but you don't even really remember, and people just kind of see you as, you know, an idiot for the things that you did. And then on the other hand, you took all of these risks, the risks of poisoning yourself with too much alcohol, because especially at our age, we shouldn't be drinking before 21, but we don't know what effect it's going to have on us or what we can handle. And we really shouldn't know until we can responsibly make the decision to drink. So when we do, not only do we put ourselves in a position to do things that we might regret, but we also put ourselves in physical harm's way, because we can easily have a reaction to the alcohol and not be with people that know what to do, because they might not be in a condition to help us.
I also really agree with you on the point that you brought up about like the media and like our culture, because like in virtually every commercial that we see, like where alcohol's involved, like Sam Adams, they have that guy that like dresses up or whatever, but like it's usually triggered towards, like, you'll notice that they play it on shows like Total Request Live on MTV. There's always alcohol commercials, like for Sky Blue and like, I don't know, just different beers and whatever, and always you see like the good side of, you know, what the alcohol does to you, and you never see like
the poor alcoholic.
The alcoholic, or like, you know, what develops afterwards, or the person like throwing up, you know, choking on their vomit or
Not to mention
something.
that a show like TRL, most of the people watching it are under 21.
Exactly.
So they're
towards like younger
They're
kids.
gearing it towards us.
Yeah.
And I'll be one of the first to tell you, I love like the Coors Light commercials, or like, you know, they have
they're
like the
funny
football songs,
commercials,
like
yeah.
they're funny commercials, and it's like, I could see like to maybe somebody who's more naive than myself watching it and be like, oh, you know, if I drink Coors Light, I'm gonna be cool or whatever. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
There are laws in every state that make it illegal for anyone under the age of 21 to purchase or drink alcohol.
And yet, young people report that alcohol is easy to obtain, and that many high school and college students drink with one goal in mind: to get drunk.
This means there is a lot of peer pressure on teens to drink.
Next, let's meet Jim. He gave into pressure to binge drink one night.
It is a night that he will always regret.
Yes, I've gone on a drinking binge where I was at a party and I saw all my friends, everyone, you know, just having a couple beers, and I thought, you know, a couple beers, I can handle that, no problem. And it was, you know, I didn't drink that much, so I grabbed the beer and I had one, and then I was like, oh, I'll have another one, I'm feeling good. Had another one, I was still feeling fine, I had another one, and then another one. And, you know, the one led into two, with the three, and so on and so forth until, you know, 10, 15 beers later, just don't even know where I am, and I just didn't know what I was doing. I started throwing up, and then halfway through the night I blacked out, and I woke up and I didn't know where I was, I didn't know what happened, and it was just one of those feelings, and I didn't want to know. I didn't know anything, and I was scared about what I did. You know, did I do something against my morals? Did I do something I didn't want to do? And then when my parents found out, I was just like, oh no. I mean, what did I do to them? They thought they raised me right, and then I go and disgrace them. I just felt horrible. I regretted it. I regret it now, and I definitely regretted it like that night, the next morning, and then when I went and saw my parents, and they saw like how I was, and they were just disappointed in me, and that was probably the worst thing, that I know I disappointed my parents. Like, it really hurt me a lot more than, you know, myself. Like, I knew what I did, but just the look on their faces, shocking to me.
Sounds like drinking that night wasn't really worth it for Jim. He didn't really get the fun that he was looking for, and then he paid the consequences after.
Yeah, it seems like Jim, you know, might have had a good night in the beginning, you know, having fun, thinking everything was okay, and then look what happened to him. Blacked out, he threw up. And first off, why would anyone ever want to do something that makes you throw up? I never understood that. You know.
That's the main question
You're
I have.
hurting yourself, yeah. Also, look, he lost his respect of his parents and their trust, so he could drink some beer, you know? It's not worth it.
After considering all the consequences, why do you guys think anyone would want to drink?
I think a lot of people do it not only just to look cool, but they think, like I know with guys and sometimes with girls too, they want to prove themselves to their friends and stuff, and it's really not worth it because then they just make themselves look even worse to their friends and they lose their respect. So it's not worth it.
I think part of it is a self-confidence thing because, you know, we keep saying it makes you look cool or makes you get into the popular crowd, but if you have enough self-confidence in yourself to know that you're happy with who you are and your circle of friends will accept you for who you are, then you're not going to do that just to look cool or just to fit in. So I think part of it is definitely how much confidence you have in yourself.
I'm sorry, Nicole. Go ahead. All right. Also, I think it's, you know, drinking, from what I've seen, you know, I've been to a lot of parties where people have been drinking. It's fun for them at first.
Right. I was going to just say it's
you know,
recreational.
we have to say that. You know, it's fun, but you know, you have to be responsible enough to realize that, all right, it might be fun for 2 hours, but are you willing to take the risks that come along with it? Are you willing to stick a tube down your throat because you can't do anything because your stomach needs to be pumped? Is it worth it to sit over a toilet and throw up for 4 hours, or to pass out, or to get in a car and kill yourself, or kill someone else?
Or
it's
just
serious.
to the point,
Yeah.
you know, to get in a fight with your friend and, you know, like never have the same type of friendship again because you said some stuff that you really didn't mean, but you know, you can never take back.
There's so many things that could go wrong from drinking. It's, you know, I've said it like 5 times already, but it's really not worth it. You know, just wait until you're 21 and you can handle it and you can drink responsibly then, legally.
Alcohol isn't a bad thing when people drink it responsibly over the age of 21. It can, you know, just be a social drink for them. But when people that are teens are drinking, I think it's more for the rush and more for the risk and more for the fact that being drunk for some reason is considered cool in a lot of our schools and in a lot of society. And I, along with you guys, just really don't understand why people find that to be so cool. Like, why can't you be yourself? Why can't you be the person that God wants you to be? Because God didn't make us so that we could run around and do stupid things that we regret the next day, because it gets dangerous and we don't have the decision-making capabilities that He gave us. We can't listen to our consciences clearly because we're impaired. Like, we might go in saying, I'm gonna have 1 drink and that's it. But once you keep having drinks, then you really just can't make decisions anymore.
I think it's the whole fact that, you know, that it is against the law, and it's the whole rush of, oh, I'm doing something that's against the law, and it's not, like, I think if they legalized it, not as many teens would do it because they'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. You know, like,
I agree with that,
in Europe and everything, like, it's like if you can look over the bar, you can have a drink. And they have a whole lot less drinking problems than America does because we're just doing it because
We're told not to.
you tell us not to do it, we're going to do it, you know, type of thing.
Statistics have shown that nearly 1 out of every 5 teens have experienced blackouts.
These are spells when they could not remember what happened the previous evening because of heavy binge drinking.
This is only one of the consequences of binge drinking.
Let's go back to the teens on the street and find out what they think some of the consequences of binge drinking are.
What do you think some of the negative consequences to binge drinking are? Like, what do you think happens to people that binge drink? Well, of course, death could also always be the greatest consequence, but trouble with the law, can lose friends, like you said. Relationships could be ruined.
You can get killed by like drunk drivers and stuff, so like fatalities.
Getting in trouble with your parents if something happens, regret, that could be a consequence.
What's that with all the kidney failure and whatnot? Because destroys your kidneys and stupid stuff you do after it. I mean, no need for it.
Commercials and advertisements portray drinking alcohol as fun, exciting, and glamorous.
What they don't show is what happens when young people drink to excess or become addicted.
Alcohol poisoning is the most serious consequence.
It is a severe and sometimes fatal reaction to an overdose of alcohol.
What are some of the other consequences you can think of that are connected to binge drinking?
Well, obviously, like one is, developing alcoholism, which, can affect your entire life and other people's lives. Like, if you're in a marriage or something, say, it breaks down your inhibitions. So you're going to do whatever you want, and you're not thinking about a family. You're not thinking about, your wife. You're not thinking about your kids, or, whether it be your wife or your husband. It could develop into alcoholism either in the early stages of your life or in later stages of your life.
Even now, an 18-year-old can drink. You see it all the time. People drink, whatever, they get together that night, things happen that shouldn't happen because they can't make a right choice, and they go against their morals because they're intoxicated. Girls get pregnant, people get diseases, and that's a very serious consequence from drinking. Also, losing the respect to your parents and drunk driving. Those are two huge problems.
Also, you can become more aggressive sometimes if you're really drunk. I was at a party once where a kid, alcohol is a depressant, so after he had drank all this, and it was the first time he had ever drank, he was going off to all of us. He told me about how much he used to hate me, and he started a big problem with this one kid, and then he pushed him. And it could have been a really messy situation, but the other kid was like, all right, this kid's drunk, he doesn't know what he's doing. And just stupid things like that, because you're not thinking and you don't have control over your actions all the time. It could have led to a really bad situation.
You get in trouble with the law from binge drinking. All the time, parties get raided, people get arrested, and you can jeopardize your college, your high school, your job, sports, everything. Your license, they can take away whatever they want. If you get caught drinking heavily, more than once in my town, they don't give you your license till you're 21 years old. They said you can drink when you're 21, then you can drive when you're 21 if you get your drink before you're 21. So they're pretty strict with it. That's their big saying. So, you know what? If you want to risk your life and many of the things that you love in your life, then go ahead and binge drink. But I'm telling you, it's very dangerous, very, very dangerous.
I know from personal experience, like what you guys said, drinking while driving. My dad, he got into a car accident because of alcohol, and he totaled the car. He didn't hurt anybody else besides himself, physically, but he totaled the car, which cost the family thousands of dollars to get a new car. And then just the way people looked at him, it was
sad.
Yeah, it was sad.
And then that doesn't just affect him, that affects
it
the rest
affected the
of
whole
your family.
And he's over it now. He stopped drinking, and he got help. But still, to think about everything that happened when it could have been avoided, then it's just why did he do it?
I think it's also important that binge drinking doesn't happen just at parties. I know that's where we come and see it, but it also happens alone when people are at their house. The whole self-confidence thing. Their parents go away, they're like, hey, I can tell a funny story to my friends and seem cool because I got drunk by drinking my parents' alcohol closet. I think it's also important to realize that this stuff doesn't happen just at parties. That people sometimes would even feel the self-confidence of doing it alone, and it's even worse then because there's no one else there to help you, and you could black out and you could
fall down the stairs,
or you could gag on your own vomit, and that's another thing. A lot of things happen. People suffocate because they can't vomit correctly.
They lay on their back. Yeah.
As Christians, we need to ask critical questions of the society in which we live and the cultural messages that we receive.
We need to spread the gospel message that we are people who can face the realities of life with our Christian principles and values rather than escaping life's realities through the drugs and alcohol.
In our next segment, Jim shares some advice on why teens shouldn't binge drink and how he jeopardized his morals and faith by binge drinking.
The only thing I could say is if you haven't yet, don't. You're not missing anything. It's just not a good experience. And if you are, Just try to stop, because what are you going to do when your whole life's revolved around just binge drinking over and over and over?
Why do you think young people drink?
They want to be cool. They want to be part of people, the in crowd who, go out and party every night, and, like that's the cool kids. So I think it's everyone wants to be like, popular and have friends, and you really don't need to drink to have friends. They all think, all right, it's after school, let's go get it. After, it's Friday night, let's go drink a little bit. Why not? And then, people start doing that on a weekly basis, and all of a sudden it's every other day, and then they just keep doing it and doing it and doing it until it's like part of their daily routine, and it really, really could get bad. I mean, I was lucky. I got out before I got really bad. The only thing you could do is that just let people know like the really bad parts of it, like show them what an alcoholic is. I mean, see a person who binge drinks every day, what their life has become, and I don't think the normal teenager would want to become, someone who's 32 and looks like they're 45 or 50, just because the drinking is just taking a toll on their entire lives. I was when I drank, I was the next day I thought about it as, all right, I just jeopardized every moral that I've had, all the things that my parents and God have put in me, to see like what's right and what's wrong. By drinking, I just threw all that away, and it was, whatever I felt like doing, I just did. Didn't matter what it was, didn't matter to who it was, I just did it. And the next morning, it was just, I felt so much regret of all the things that I might have done, that it just was overwhelming.
Do you turn to God at all?
I turned to God a little bit, like I was praying, like maybe, please God, whatever I did, please let my parents forgive me. Please let my friends forgive me. Please let me forgive myself even. So that's and God was there for me.
God was there for Jim. So guys, what are some teachings in your faith, or ways your faith can help you like avoid binge drinking and just stop abusing abusing alcohol in general? Excuse me.
Well, I think it's important that we follow in Jesus' example, and that helps, I think, a lot of other teens. If we show example, like if we're at parties and we don't, that leaves one person who is thinking about it, says, hey, they're not doing it, then I don't have to do it. So I think if we all show and lead by example, just like as Jesus did, that can help other people when they're faced with that decision as well.
Someone said to me once, what commandment is drinking really breaking? And somebody pointed out to me the most obvious one. Obviously, your parents aren't going to want you to be going out and partying and binge drinking. So by going out and doing that behind their back, you're breaking one of the most important commandments of honor your mother and father.
But of course, like our faith teaches us to like respect ourselves and respect life. So
our bodies,
and our bodies, it is like a sacred thing. So you don't want to deteriorate it any quicker than it would naturally. So.
Also, like on a lesser scale than that, even give to Caesar what is Caesar and give to God's what is God's. Like you follow God's laws first, but then you also want to follow the laws of your own government in the fact,
But I also want to bring up this point really quick. When you're 21 or older, or if you have your parents' consent, because that's legal, and you're at your own home, and if you drink in moderation, it could be a joyous thing sometimes. Like in the Bible, Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine, like the first one that he really showed to the world. So, you know what? It could be, a nice thing to do. You could, dancing, drinking a little bit. It'll be fun, but you have to drink in moderation. And you have to turn to God and to Jesus to show you, the right path, and to give you enough courage to say no when you're under 21, and to say, no, I'm not binge drinking.
Exactly.
I don't need this right now, all right?
There's obvious points where, I'm sure Jesus drank wine. As you just said, he turned water into wine. So, I mean, it's not like he was never drank, No. It's just that he could control himself and not abuse the alcohol. I mean, it's just, again, it's all in moderation.
Exactly. In moderation, alcohol isn't a bad thing, but I think that a lot of people drink so that they can get drunk or black out, and that's so that they can forget their problems. And instead of offering up their issues and their problems to God and trusting that He will help them and lead them in the right path to correct them and to deal with their issues, instead they decide to drink, which, as we've discussed, causes more problems. It causes health problems. It causes marital problems or problems for kids that are in school that aren't mature enough or at the age when they should be drinking. So if we're drinking just to be drunk and forget our problems, then we need to instead be proactive and change the things that we don't like about our lives, make the right friends, and trust in God that God will lead us on the right path and that we don't need to intoxicate ourselves and to abuse something that God gave us to be joyous, as John said, just so that we can forget our problems, because it doesn't ever end up that the people are better off just because they got drunk.
Most of the time it ends up that they're worse off. My uncle's an alcoholic, and we don't know where he is right now or how he is. Last we heard, he was living in the woods somewhere and wouldn't talk to any of us because we wouldn't give him money for more alcohol. I mean, it just leads you down such a bad path. It's not going to solve your problems. The right way to attempt to fix your problems is, to pray and ask God for help, and alcohol isn't going to solve anything.
And I mean, you think of us like right now, like drinking, we're not going to be, when we're legally allowed to drink, if it develops into alcoholism, you're not going to be able to just have like that casual drink every once in a while, like you were saying before. And, God would want us to have like those, obviously he wants us to have those luxuries in life and like enjoy our lives, and like he wants us to live it to the fullest and the happiest. So, you got to just really think about the future and what you want in your life.
Those people with a family history of alcoholism, family conflicts, and parental unemployment are at risk for alcohol abuse.
So often, young people turn to alcohol and drugs because of loneliness, depression, fear, and emotional pain.
To be a Christian is to know that we can avoid the darkness, struggles, or pain that may come into our lives.
It is knowing that through all of our difficulties, God is there alongside us.
He is a God who offers us an outstretched hand, helping and guiding us along the way.
We need to find strength in what it means to be a Christian, nurturing our mind, body, and soul, rather than giving in to the thought that everyone else is doing it.
And as Christians, we are also people of hope and forgiveness.
God is moved by our pain and wants us to be free of it.
If you would like more information on binge drinking and alcohol abuse, log on to our website.
We will post links to other websites with information on these topics.
The address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or you can contact us by phone at 609-406-7402.
And always remember that as Christians, we need to remind ourselves and others that only God can fulfill all our needs and